Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to the Turing Test. So last episode, apparently we found out we're a robot, or we ran into a pain in the butt computer that would just respond no matter what button I pressed.
Room, because the responses you pass back through the door are the correct responses. The person on the other side of the door is convinced you are a native Chinese speaker.
So now they're talking about the Chinese room experiment.
Because with the instruction book, you are having a conversation.
But the person stuck in the Chinese room is not aware of the conversation's content.
This is the problem with the Turing test. A computer can pass the Turing test, having convinced a human they are having a polite conversation, while the computer has no idea that a conversation has taken place.
What if both of the people passing Chinese words are reading from instruction books?
Why do we have a prompt on the screen? Interesting. It's weird, we've got a prompt stuck on the screen all of a sudden. And I don't know a way of getting that to go away. So yeah, it could be. Yeah, the prompt literally shows up here. That whole conversation feels like meta commentary, and that we may very well find that there is a secondary message being said on top of the kind of obvious and primary message of you're a robot, Tom's a robot. It would be funny if Tom wasn't a robot. And just like glitches. And if this game is trying to be sneaky and show us some kind of glitches to the player themselves, I'm not sure I fully agree with that. And how does one open this door? Interesting. I doubt we're supposed to be looking in reflections of things, and you can kind of tell that the only thing that's reflecting in the mirror is the gun model, not the player model. So there must be something over here to shoot. Okay. So since this is a timer thing, I guess the general idea is to jump over this. And so maybe that is the prompt that they are trying to get us to see, is that the left stick does, it kind of does have a it kind of does have a run mode to it. I'll just jump. See, so if you left click, you will run. So I guess there was a message in that. It's weird that the game is just telling you that. And here we'll take the energy and then get it emancipated. But I suspect there might be a reason to get the energy emancipated as much as possible.
I may be a machine, but I personally do not believe I am stuck inside the Chinese room.
Right, you would say that. I could peer inside your databases at any time, Tom. Or pause your operation.
Do not assume I could not do the same to you.
So I guess the game wants to teach us that we're safe to walk through the electricity. So it seems like it has no effect on us, which really makes all this energy kind of ridiculously wimpy on top of being pointless. I guess that might be the best way to describe it. Here it seems like this is an indicator that there's an energy box on the other side. And here we're going to try and get the energy to flow through that window. So, yeah. We've got this, which we want to flow through here. But let's see, how could we do this? I mean, we can go that far, and maybe that's all we have to do. We're running into a problem, definitely, with the with a case here of the game introducing ideas and concepts too early, and then kind of just abandoning them too quickly. Is there even another energy ball in this area? I don't think so. So I think we are just supposed to go forward. We have a slightly different door here going into a cutscene.
This is the crew's quarters. It looks abandoned.
So to the right we have the water closet, to the left we have Captain Daniel McLean. Let's see, can we knock over anything? We found like only one item in the entire game that seemed to have some physics on it, so that probably was a experiment. Notice I do not see the need for so many cameras. Tom's presence everywhere is slightly oppressive. I don't understand the need for I understand the need for transparency, but why in the toilets? And so that's as far as we are going in there. And here we have something I can't read. Don't touch. This is the 5th time. Which potentially means maybe this is the 5th time that we've been through this entire base trying to, I guess, defeat the humans, who I imagine have been murdered a long time ago. And Tom is having us see only what he wants us to see. But it seems pretty obvious that that's what the story is, so we kind of need a twist. Something along the lines of, here's some interesting wheels. We can open these two. If the crew themselves made me, and I'm a robot working for them, or I'm supposed to work for them, and Tom then reprogrammed me, there would be at least a little bit of a twist. So, Tom Touch OS. Now this would be the Tom instance, I think, on the planet, which I think, well, those two instances I guess were merged. And then here we've got our standard Unity items, just random assets that were probably pre-bought on the Unity store and don't, there you can see a reflection really well and that you're not being shown in it. I don't fully get why they would have bothered with this. And then here we have a pencil, which still don't have a zoom in or zoom out with that. We have the twins cut, me and Dan at 24, ripped in half. It doesn't feel like there's a middle part there that's missing, because you can kind of see the guy on the right's hand in the image on the left. It seems like maybe somebody was trying to spell out help, or maybe just play some games in general. We keep seeing these pieces, these computers. Here we have drilling reports that, again, like, in all fairness, I will point out that I am looking at this game on my about 55-inch TV from 10 feet away. So maybe if I had a computer monitor right in front of my face, I'd be able to read this. It doesn't fully make sense, though, that they should make the game this way. I'm playing it at 1080p. It should be fairly easy to read, or they should be popping up text. That would be another thing to argue that this game is not finished. Here I can just see there's an audio log number 71142, which seems to be a different indicator from what we've seen otherwise. Yeah, this game came out on Xbox Arcade first, so this is probably one person that they've turned into twins. It would be weird if they just found two twin actors, or if there were twins working on in the game company. Not incredibly weird, but slightly weird. International Space Agency. We finally figured out what ISA stands for. Ashiyama. And then Because We Care in the background, and then number 23 Canadian jersey. This almost certainly is a Canadian team. There seems to be a parent in that picture. Then we've got really small monitors around a bigger monitor, and a flask, apparently a sign issued by a certain industry. Yeah, anybody playing on a regular TV on an Xbox wouldn't be able to read most of this stuff either. And alright, that opened a flap, and inside the flap we can see a flashlight. There seems to be quite an obsession with having lighting implements in this game. Then no signal from the looks of it. Doesn't look like you can do anything else. Is this a map of Europa? I'm holding down the X button to see if maybe there was something else here. It's hard to tell if this is a globe of Earth or if this is a globe of Europa. Let's see. Looks to me like it's a globe of Earth. Yeah, it's just got no color in it. Nothing to open on this panel. Nothing to open on that panel. These probably are panels. So we walk through here and we see our hands. So we're at least a human looking robot. The problem with a video game like this, and pretty much any video game, is if a video game tells you you're a robot, you can pretty easily go, okay, I'm a robot. That's not super surprising. Spoiler for the game Prey, that does a reveal very similar to that at the very end of the game, and it spends, I would say, at least 20 hours in the game building it up, building up the world and the environment and the characterization of the character you're playing, so that you definitely did not see that ending coming. What does it say? Strange thermals on the west side of the crater. Here we have somebody who's much more organized and uses a different type of pencil. You'd think maybe there would only be one style of pencil offered. Is there really reason to pick up or try to pick up all the pencils? It's not particularly easy. because just the slightest nudge does seem like it messes it up. Dear Tom, knowing you're always watching, I thought I'd write you a letter, as you no longer reside in my mind. I've decided to transfer my thoughts to text. I want to do so in the form of a history lesson. A lesson perhaps you'll find condescending, but it's likely more for my sake than yours. Alan Turing is going to be the whole Turing stuff, and there's some symbols at the bottom that might be some part of a bigger puzzle, an outside augmented reality game type puzzle. Alan Turing is considered the father of theoretical computer science and artificial intelligence. Perhaps a lesser known part of his life was his contributions to the field of biology. Why do you suppose his interest lay in these two disparate fields? I assume it's because he believed the world can be logical and understandable. Man, I'm reading this pretty badly. He was a mathematician. He seemed to believe that the great complexity of the universe could be explained with simple rules. 2 years before his suicide in 1952, Alan Turing developed something called the reaction diffusion systems. Inside the academic world, this work is cited more than his work on computers. It can be generally formalized as a one-line equation, which I think that first symbol is alpha, the second symbol is Q, then a big D with underlines on it, then delta squared, and then Q again, plus capital R, Q. Yeah. I don't know anything about that. I think it is probably worth mentioning that a computer being Turing complete is probably a lot more important to computer programming, that concept, than an artificial intelligence being able to defeat the Turing test. A computer that's Turing complete is capable of changing its own code, in a sense, and going on forever. It was described as if you had a Mobius strip of paper, a loop of paper that would just go on forever and ever. There would be certain things you could write on that paper, or use it like a punch card or something, to tell the computer to do certain actions. Mostly, it needs to be able to subtract two numbers. It needs to be able to add two numbers. It needs to be able to move the sum of that subtraction or addition to some place on the strip in the memory, effectively, of the computer. And it probably needs to be able to jump from one specific point to another specific point. But you may not even really need that much. I don't fully understand the concept of a Turing complete computer, but it is the foundation of what is called assembly language or computer code, the lowest level of code that you would give to a CPU to run a program. And effectively, if a computer is not Turing complete, it's not useful. Let's see, there's more of this. Wow, this is kind of long. I'm no mathematician, but in plain English, this equation describes things that wish to diffuse, however, also react with each other during the process. I'm sure it sounds strange to you, or at the least tangential to our lives here on Europa. What relevance does it have to anything here? Reaction diffusion systems show how patterns are created. They show how the leopard got its spots, or how the zebra got its stripes. But my real interest here in Turing is Turing's interest. That nature can be formalized. That we can understand the natural world in mathematical terms. So I guess the implication here is that there's a course of events that we're going to find out about, or maybe not really find out much about how the humans and Tom really couldn't mesh together and work together, and so the humans had to react to Tom at the same time while they were trying to diffuse with Tom, in a sense, or get along with Tom. Turing created the test to answer the equation: can a machine impersonate a human? The intrigue behind that being, can a human mind be simulated by a machine? Why ask that question? To prove that a human mind is a machine? I'm not sure that Turing's opinion, however, concerning consciousness, he stated this. So they couldn't even find a good quote from Turing to use here. According to the most extreme form of this view, the only way by which one could be sure that a machine thinks is to be the machine and feel oneself thinking. One could describe these feelings to the world, but of course no one would be justified in taking notice. Likewise, according to this view, the only way to know that a man thinks is to be that particular man. If a human mind exists within the pattern of the world, it obeys the same rules of physics and chemistry as every other thing in the world. Therefore, like all of nature, it is merely reactive. It is curious that nature would create, through the mechanics of determinism, creatures that believe they have free will. Conversely, I suppose, if we could conclude that all machines, that we are all machines, so we only came to the conclusion in a predetermined manner. We cannot claim credit for our discovery, as it is just a product of our nature's genius. Not on a humbling idea, I think. Behaviorism. Maybe we are more similar than we think, Sarah. So, yeah, it's getting kind of high-minded. And if we look at the bottom of this tablet, it looks a lot like an Android tablet with the basic icons there. One would think maybe they would change that, particularly since nowadays cell phones and tablets don't even bother to print icons at the bottom of the screen permanently. I would, to throw in my own philosophy, I would say I suspect the human brain is running on a very different system than what a computer runs on, in the sense that the human brain somehow thrives on random signals, misfirings, mismemories, misspeaking. Mistakes happen so often, but in such a unique way that they somehow improve a human being by making them unpredictable, which makes them, at their core, less capable of being hunted down by predators, to the point where humans no longer have really any predators. They are the mass predator. Whereas a zebra probably, more often than not, always jumps to the left in most scenarios, or jumps to the right in some scenarios, and the lion can calculate that. The lion that's chasing the zebra can see that and calculate that and feast on them. But it is, in my opinion, kind of foolhardy to say that a human brain is not effectively a machine. It is just a very, very, very different kind of machine. This is a weird depiction of the bottle. Like, the see-through glass seems to not be animating at all. I wonder if this is a DirectX 12 bug. And that's probably not a real drug, but it kind of feels like it would be like a Ritalin drug or something. One capsule every 12 hours. See the accompanying instructions. There's just a lot of things here to play with, and nothing here that feels like it is important. This isn't really a 3D hidden object game by any means, or really a puzzle game by any means. And here we have a rosary. I assume that's what a rosary is. I think that is. Then right here we have a biochemistry book talking about telomeres, which are the things that in humans and most animals shorten, making it impossible for humans' DNA to last forever. If the telomeres didn't shorten in DNA, you theoretically could replace all your organs and all your cells with brand new versions of their cells that are just as good as the day you were born. But they don't. They replace with cells that are basically not as good. So here's yet another person, and it kind of feels like we can't run into... I feel like a cat should jump out of this. That would make more sense. And then there's a closet here that's not in any of the other rooms. So we have a ring. It kind of feels like we're only going to get this one little opportunity to know them. And here we've got what looks like just a visual glitch. This will be our opportunity to get everybody to know everybody on the ship, who theoretically I should already know, and doesn't really feel like we're finding anything that would imply that there's something here, and it doesn't feel like there's bodies under these tarps. If anything, I would guess that the people probably have already died and long since decayed. Then Tom was just gonna keep it a dust-free environment so you wouldn't see it. Ah, man. Let's see if we can barely read any of this. I'm just gonna have to say pause now if you want to read these, I guess. So read the last one. Not exactly. There are many causes for the death other than DNA damage. It could not save you from trauma. It would not save you from trauma, from brain damage, from cardiac arrest, but it could potentially cure cancers and many genetic diseases and massively increase life expectancy. So it seems like this is another hint towards the telomeres. Why would you have 2 Rubik's Cubes? That seems a little excessive. Also, why is her computer older and a different model than everybody else's? And then she has like a violin. So it almost seems like maybe different people came at different times. Is this Reluzol some pill that they created? And this is some motion sickness relief. If there is an augmented reality game, I almost certainly would guess that that barcode reveals something. Here's a picture of the moon. Let's see what we have here. Oh, just more text. Not really what I'm looking for. Not particularly when this isn't going to be this. Like, all of this is in the same place. None of this is going to be said out loud. Maybe the alien species that they found helped them expand telomeres. Like, it would have been fairly easy to have just one of these crew quarters happen between one of the previous puzzles. I don't feel like there's anything here that's really spoiling the game to us. And if we hadn't done that little extra thing, I can't open that cabinet, that said we were a robot, I feel like we wouldn't have seen anything to even hint towards that. And we're not really seeing anything now. Here's like a tube of paint, or a very weird drug dispensal, like Pipit. Just more text. I couldn't care less. Sorry, game, you just have not brought me towards it, towards an interest in the characters enough. And we're here. They had audio logs, so again, this feels like Square Enix cut the budget, and that happens in games a lot more than you would even think. People get a third of the way done. Oh, I guess it is paint. And then the publisher says it's good enough, or you're over budget now. We'll give you maybe $100,000 more, maybe a few $1,000s more to wrap it up, and that's it. We need this out as quickly as possible. We're not willing to spend any more money on it. See, this is interesting because now this glass bottle, when you pick it up, you see the glass, but what you don't see is the label. It's totally disappeared and missing. And it's not until you walk away and let it respawn are you able to see it. So this guy seems to be doing a decent amount of drugs and a decent amount of painting. Maybe all of these people are robots. I would think that this would be some kind of battery pack or generator or boombox from the looks of it. Yep. So a lot of visual glitches happening here. It would have been a lot nicer, frankly, had they broken it up. Given us just one of those rooms, and then a couple puzzles, then another room, and then a couple puzzles, then another room. There's no reason to have this break section. And while there was a lot more in the crew's quarters than what I could find in the observatory area, the big globe hologram area, it's still not particularly great. We're on chapter 3 in sector 21, and that kind of makes it feel like we're probably on level 21 of about 60, and the chapters don't really mean anything too much in that case. Yeah, I can't help but feel like there was a considerable lack of progress in this episode, in the sense that I don't want to sit through a bunch of text. I would be willing to read, like, pick up memos in games, if I only have to do like one every couple of puzzles. But when you give me a room with 3 or 4 things that I would have to read, no, I'm out. Video games are interactive media. They are audio visual media. You should not be heavily relying on text. Even when Skyrim does it, and Skyrim has tons of books, or The Witcher 3 has quite a few books. Even when they do it, most of the time I don't want to read all of those. Most of the time what is written in the books are completely useless side notes, bits of information, bits of things that you might give to a writer on a game project just to keep them busy, just to have them write some character backstory, something to really attract the bibliophiles that like to play games, which are by far the minority of people who want to play games. I'm not saying this game has to be a run and gun shooter or a high action game. Not all games have to be that way, but how this message is being delivered is not efficient, and it's not well thought out. It feels like they're trying to do some high-minded psychological explanation and revelation here. And when you compare this to like Portal, GLaDOS just talked to you. She was an unreliable narrator, but you got to play the game. There was no point where you had to take a break really and read anything. There was maybe the Ratman dens where you read a few things, a sentence or two written on the walls, and that was it. Everything else was done by one voice actor who did a great job, got the information to the vast majority of people who played the game, because most people aren't going to mute GLaDOS and not listen to her. And so that dialogue and that story was really useful. Whereas I would say at least half of the players will do exactly what I just did. Maybe they'll put up with one long note and then they'll just give up with the rest. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.